Hello and welcome to Ask Your Coach group. And today we're having a very special guest here today, as we didn't see Jeff for quite a long time. We're having Jeff Heggie here, and Jeff is a business coach, and we're going to talk about problem solving. And today I've seen that Jeff actually has posted his podcast about this subject, so I'm very curious about what he's going to tell us. Jeff, I'm going to pin you here on the main screen.
Okay.
I'm going to mute myself and please go ahead.
Thank you, Yana. Actually, it was nice. Yana asked me a while ago if I'd speak on this subject today, and so I've been thinking about it all week. So it actually gave me the opportunity throughout the week. In my Daily Success Strategies podcast, I spoke about it a few times. And actually, what I want to do, I want to start by reading a comment that I got on a post yesterday. So actually, yesterday I posted on Instagram a quote that just says, "Problems are not stop signs; they are guidelines." And that is Robert Schuller that said that. But one of my friends that follows me, Tina Gill, she commented on it, and I thought it was a great comment. And so I wanted to start by sharing that. She says, "As we walk this crazy and winding road of life, it's not news that we will face challenges and problems along the way. So often, though, rather than seeing our problems as opportunities for growth, we see them as roadblocks or stop signs, sometimes even allowing them to stop us from moving forward entirely. This broken perspective puts us into a disempowering place, a position of fear and uncertainty, which then further hinders our ability to be receptive to solutions to the problem we are faced with." And so I want to talk about problems today. And to begin with, if we're going through this and anyone that's listening has comments or questions, Yana is monitoring that. So please just go ahead and she'll jump on here with me with those questions. But to begin with, one thing that I've always been adamant about is everyone's dealing with their own problems of different sizes, different magnitudes that others know nothing about. And I think that's important to understand and recognize, because in comparison, maybe your problem is a lot bigger than someone else's, but not to them. To them, the problem they're faced with is the most important thing they're dealing with right now. It's more important than what you're dealing with because it's their problem. And so I think that's one of the most important things to recognize as a way of how we treat people and deal with people. But what I want to speak on today is I want to talk about the perspective of problems. So I want you to ask yourself, have you ever been in a situation where you thought to yourself, I can't wait till I'm more successful. I can't wait till I have more money. I can't wait till I'm the boss, and then I don't have to deal with all these problems. Have you ever said that to yourself? I just want you to think about that for a moment. And then let me break something to you. It doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter how successful you are. It doesn't matter if you're the boss or you're not the boss. You're always going to have problems to deal with. And that's why I want to talk about the perspective of problems, because there is actually a big difference in the problems. Problems, look at where you are now. Well, you're not going to remember this, but look at when you're a baby. Your problem was you couldn't walk. That was a big hurdle. That was a big problem. Once you were able to overcome that problem, that wasn't a problem anymore. Your problems got bigger. So if you want to be more successful, if you want more money, if you want to be the boss, the things that you need to do, and this is really the entire secret to success, the things you need to do is be able to solve bigger problems. And if you can solve bigger problems, you're going to be able to do more. If you're in a company and you're want to be more valuable within that company, solve bigger problems. You're going to add a lot more value to that company if you can solve bigger problems. So right now, the difference between who you are and the person you want to be is your ability to solve problems. If you look at it another way, if you're going to be solving problems anyways, why not solve problems with more zeros attached to the end? Because the bigger the problems you're facing, the bigger problems you can solve, the more and better results that you're going to get in the end. So I want to focus on 4 things right now: your focus and time, your comfort zone, people, and purpose. So with your focus and time, I want you to think about how much time you spend focused and worrying about either small problems or just problems that you have no control over, and things that you make into a bigger problem than they actually are. Think about things like road rage. Someone cuts you off. How much time do you spend irate over that person that cut you off? What about you order a steak and you order it medium and it comes out well done? How much time are you stressed about that? What about a common thing that I hear all the time is negativity or haters on social media? How much time do you spend worried about people that are commenting on your posts? And that's another point. If you're one of those people that has all the time in the world that you can worry about someone else's posts and you're going and making those comments, what are you spending your time on? So if you're spending a lot of time on things like that, if a lot of your attention and focus is on those things, and this is actually what I talked about in my Daily Success Strategies podcast today, you need bigger problems. You need to be dealing with bigger problems, because those little things that you might not have any control over or that aren't doing any good for you are taking up too much of your time, focus, and energy. So the next part I want to talk about is your comfort zone. One of the things with problems is they often are taking us out of our comfort zone. And how much does it bother you to be out of your comfort zone? One of the things I say often is you need to become comfortable being uncomfortable. One of the things that I have spoke on a lot are the use of my mindset questions. And if you're interested in those, at jeffheggie.com/mindset, you can get those. But in my mindset questions, one of the things that I have you ask yourself every single day is, what can I do today to step outside my comfort zone? So why do we do that? Because every time you do something that is taking you outside of your comfort zone becomes bigger and bigger. Just like as I was talking, when you're a baby, when you learn to walk, your comfort zone becomes bigger because you are able to walk now. I remember when I started Kodiak Mountain Stone back in 2005, I was in a position where I was focused on getting the company started, and I had hired someone to be a salesperson. I had sent them out and they just weren't getting results. And so I ended up saying, you know what, forget about it. I'll take care of that part. And I started going out and I hit the road and just started cold calling. And if you're a salesperson, or if you've ever tried cold calling, you know how uncomfortable that can be. And I remember sitting outside of offices, having to talk myself into shutting off the truck and walking in and performing the cold call. But after I'd done that a number of times, it was within my comfort zone. It wasn't even a question. It was, I would get to the location, I'd jump out, go talk to the person. And you know what? If I got rejected, it was okay. So because I was starting to do those things, my comfort zone became much larger. Now, same thing with problems. As you deal with bigger and bigger problems, your comfort zone becomes bigger and bigger. And so it allows you to deal with bigger things. And so that's something we've actually, as I said earlier, you've got to become comfortable being uncomfortable, because it just means you're growing. So stop avoiding the problems, face them head on. And as I've heard it said before, is turn your ship into the storm. Because when you have the courage to do that, you're going to be able to face your problems head on. And you might fail. There's going to be times that you fail. Just like when I was cold calling, There was times that I got rejection, and it was okay. We moved on. Now, the next point is people. We often hear the term talking about our limiting beliefs. I think one of the biggest problems with our limiting beliefs is a lot of those come because of people we love or care about. Because sometimes because they're trying to protect us, they don't want us to step out further than they think we can be successful, or they just don't have the faith in us. I even think of the story of Jeff Bezos when he first started talking about starting Amazon. He went for a walk with his boss and told him about his idea, and his boss told him, it sounds like a great idea for someone that doesn't have a great job like you do, right? And these limiting beliefs that we have are so often because of the fear we have of what other people are thinking or saying. I actually heard yesterday, and I can't even remember who it was that I can give credit to, but it's that, we often hear that the number one fear next after death is public speaking. But public speaking isn't actually what people fear. What people fear is getting up in front of people and being judged or being embarrassed or something. And so we put so much stress and so much value on what people are saying, and it changes how we're looking at ourselves. And so we need to stop letting unqualified people tell us what's right, wrong, or possible, because often as the problems we're trying to deal with get bigger and bigger, there's more and more people that are going to tell us it's not possible. And I had Richie Norton was here at my house a couple of weeks ago, and I had him on my podcast, and we were talking about it. And he's the author of the book The Power of Starting Something Stupid, and we were talking, and we said there's so many things that are stupid or impossible until they're not. Look how many we in the interview we talked about the Wright brothers. In a book I was just reading, she was talking about putting herself in the scenario of being the Wright brothers' mother and how her friends would have talked about her. Like, have you heard what Ethel's kids are trying to do? They think they're going to fly like the birds. And there's so many things. We look at flying right now as something that's normal, but back then it was impossible. And so many people had their limiting beliefs that they poured out to the Wright brothers. And luckily people like the Wright brothers, like so many people that have brought so many great inventions to us, haven't worried about those things. They've looked at these big problems and they haven't worried about those people that are telling them it can't be done, that they're crazy and all those things. And then I think one of the most important is purpose. And a lot of that comes down to understanding what your why is. And I know there's a lot of people in this group that are part of KBB, and what I walk a lot of my clients through is the 7 levels deep exercise that Dean goes through, because I think understanding your why can take you a long way. And you can't underestimate the power of having a hunger and a purpose and a why behind what you're trying to achieve. Because without knowing that, when we face a big problem, the first obstacle we face might stop us. We could fail right then and give up. But with it, you don't hear the no. You don't stop at your first no. You just keep getting those no until you get a yes. The story of Ford, when he said he wanted his 8 cylinders casted in one block, all his engineers said it was impossible. And he continued to say it'll be done. And it took him, I know it took him over a year. I can't remember how long it took, but it finally was done. And it wasn't because the engineers said, yeah, we'll figure this out. He just kept saying, you're going to figure it out. No, we can't. We don't know. Okay, go back to work. You're going to figure it out. And finally they did. I actually, just before we got on, I pulled out this book. It's a book I read in 2003, so I can't repeat the whole story to you, but There's a story in this book, The 1 Minute Millionaire by Mark Victor Hansen and Robert Allen. And it talks about a lady that she had 90 days to make $1 million or she was going to lose her 2 children. Now, that is a strong purpose. That is a real why. And, you know, when you look at those things, when you look at your problem and you can put a why behind it that has a real purpose and will push you, you're going to be able to overcome things that right now you don't think you could. There's a lot of things that you can do that your own limiting beliefs are going to stop you. But when you have a strong enough why, you'll figure it out. You'll be able to do things that you thought were impossible. But, you know, it's even, I've worked with salespeople that get hung up on going out and performing the sale or making the cold calls or whatever it is. But when you can put a why behind it, even putting them in the perspective of it's their own business, because their job is a business. That position they're holding can be looked at as their own business. And if they don't get the sales, they're out of business. And when you can put a why behind it, it really motivates someone to go out and do the things they need to be able to solve those problems. So when we look at, you know, look at anyone that you're looking up at, whether it's in business, in leadership, whatever it is, someone that you look up to and look at them as so successful. They are there because they've been able to solve the problems that needed to be solved to get there. But the thing that we need to look at is they have the same amount of time in every day that we do. And if you want to get to that level of success, you need to be analyzing how you're spending that time. Are you trying to solve problems that are going to keep you at the level you're at now? Or are you willing to try taking on bigger problems and solving the big problems that are going to help you to get to the next level? So I think looking at the significance of the problems we're dealing with is a major aspect of how to look at this. And, you know, I said it earlier, if you're going to be solving problems anyways, you might as well be solving problems that have more zeros on the end. Any comments or anything, Yana, that we want to address?
Well, I've got some.
All right, great.
Yeah, thank you for this. It was it was very complex. I've written some notes here. I've got some notes from what you said. I think it's very great. But I just wanted to, you know, like add one more thing, and it's maybe the feminine aspect here talking for me. What I love to do when I'm having a big problem, I like to envision the end result, and I think it helps a lot. You know, like going from retrospective, like I don't know if that's the right word, but going like backwards, like you imagine the end result, and then you're thinking like, what did I have to do to get there? What was the step? And you're going like from the end result, you're going like backwards to the phase where you are at right now. And that helps me a lot. I think that there are 2 reasons for that. And one of them is because you see the vision, and that helps me to have this why you were talking about, the drive and the motivation. Right. And the second one is that sometimes we're stuck, you know, and we can't get unstuck unless we see the next step. So I think that this is like, sometimes, you know, you face some real problems, you know, you face, I don't know, you thought that you would do something, and then you got COVID, and after COVID, you've got a COVID brain, and after the COVID brain, you're tired and stuff like that. Sometimes there are real problems. But when you were talking about the why and about the, you know, like the purpose and the motivation, I think that that's the important thing, to see the end result, to see where you want to go, because then nothing is going to stop you. So that's, you know, it's the same thing as you were saying. It's just that it's maybe a little bit female perspective, but I like to really see like because when you were talking about Ford, or when we were talking about the other people as well, I think that, you know, like you can't just say, I'm going to construct a plane. But if you can see yourself flying, then you will, it's the
Right.
vision, the dream, it's the end result. It's like what you really want. And
You know
then,
what I like about that too is when you can do that, when you can future pace and put yourself out there, you can again change your perspective on it, because so often a problem that we are dealing with, when we're in the middle of that problem, it's like so intense and there's so many emotions involved.
mhm.
And then, a year later we look back and think, oh, that wasn't that big of a deal. Well, if you can future pace, like you're saying, and begin with the end in mind and put yourself out there and then work backwards, I think that could probably help you realize, okay, yes, I can deal with this. This is a big problem I'm dealing with right now, but when I see that end vision of where I'm going to get and what I need to do to get there, it kind of can bring it into perspective, I think.
I also like when I'm doing the relationship coaching, I also like to do two scenarios sometimes. One is the scary one. So if you don't take action, if you don't solve it, if you just, like if you're thinking that this problem is so big that you're not going to face it, so what happens? And then the dream one, yeah, the one you want to do. And I use a little bit of meditations like cheating, but it's not really cheating, so they see themselves going there into that scenario, and then they will make the decision, and the decision is always going to work for them, right? I mean, it's never, I mean, when I'm saying it's cheating, it's like it's not really cheating, because I mean they know what they want down in their heart, they know what they want, right? But they're just scared to face the reality. But if they don't face it, they have to be aware what happens. And I can take them there very easily. I
Right.
can take them there. it's it's like very clear in my mind what happens if they don't face the problems. And I think that helps as well, because I don't know. Tony Robbins is saying that people are motivated by two forces. One of them is pain, and the other one is reward. And the pain is just stronger. You don't want to go there, you don't want to experience the pain. So sometimes it helps to do the second scenario as well, just to be aware, like what happens if I'm not going to solve this. Am I going to have a better life or worse life? So
Right.
it's also one of the
And
things that
I think when you look at both sides like that, when you look at what happens if this doesn't work out, when that happens, you're better able to handle it. I was talking about my manufacturing company. When we started that in 2005, we were strictly manufacturing. In 2008, when everything crashed in the economy and whatnot, we had problems with a lot of things on how we were moving forward and how we were trying to grow, because a lot of our dealers that we were supplying to were going out of business and different things were happening. And we pivoted the company and we opened our own retail locations. We looked at our competitors and ended up bringing in some of their products and stuff like that. And then we thought things were going great. And then we ran into another problem and we had to pivot again. And then in 2016, at that point, most of our focus was in the Canadian market. We hit the fall, and that was a point that I thought, this is really finally where we were trying to get. This is kind of going to be the beginning of our breakout, and things are going to be great going forward. That winter, oil crashed, the Alberta economy crashed, and everything fell apart on us again. So it was like, okay, new problem. Let's take it on. This is how we've got to take it on. At that point, it was like, we need to get more back into the US market. And I ended up cutting a deal with another company that we were going to take over all their manufacturing, take over all their distribution, which would give us an immediate access to the US market. We finished that deal. And I was the one that decided I'm going to be the one that goes out to all their distributors and create the relationships. Well, what I didn't realize is during the last 2 years, because of their neglect in their own company, they had ruined those relationships and all those distributors had gone a different direction. And so our solution didn't work, another problem. And so that's something else I think we need to realize is solving a problem doesn't mean your problems are over, because
They never
there's going to
are.
be more things that are faced. And and it's been continual. And unfortunately, that was a company that we started in 2005. Now going through COVID, January of 2021, we shut it down. And so it was a lot of problems. I mean, there was a lot of successes along the way, but there was a lot of problems we had to overcome as well. And you learn from every single one of them.
That's true. That's true, and it's tough, especially in the entrepreneur world. It's tough because you've got challenge after challenge, and if your vision is not strong enough, then I mean, you will just give it up, right? Because that's also like one of the things. And in the relationship is the same thing. Your vision, your dream has to be really strong. You have to really know what you're doing or why you're doing it. You don't have to know what you're doing, but you have to know why you're doing that. Otherwise, the challenges are just too big, And the entrepreneurship is lonely. That's another thing. It's lonely, so you have to be strong. But I want to just add one more thing to that. When you were talking about the pivoting, what I like also is like sometimes I like to use this black and white approach, like this is the good way and that's the bad way. But sometimes I also like to add like, like really like being wild, like dreaming wild, like is there another way? Like unexpected. We were talking about it a little bit last week when we were talking about creativity. But it's really like sometimes, you just need to do something crazy or something you didn't think of. And I think that in that case, even if you're just, like solo entrepreneur, in that case, it really helps if you're doing the brainstorming with someone else. Because sometimes we are so much in our, like tracks that we can't step out of them. Sometimes it really helps just to talk to whoever, as I was talking last week, you can talk to your child and they will probably have better ideas than you at that moment because you're so much in it that you can't see the way out. So this is also something that helps a lot to just get out of the box, as they're saying, right? And get out of the box, just talk to someone else, and they might not have a clue what you're doing, but they might just tell something that brings that idea, that's like, okay, you don't know what you're talking about, this idea is great, I'm going to use it. So I think
that's what I love about my mastermind group is everyone comes from different backgrounds, different industries, different types of businesses, and they all add a fresh perspective to each other. And I was talking about when I had to pivot my company, one of the times that happened, I was trying to figure that out, and it was the time that we opened our own retail stores. We were trying to figure out how we were going to do some things, and I was at a conference and I was sitting with a lady that owned a scrapbooking company. And it was something she said that gave me the idea of we need to open the retail and bring in our competitors' products. I mean, I would have never thought that a scrapbooking company would give a rock company the idea of what we needed to do. And so, yeah, I totally agree with that, Yana.
And ideas are so versatile, like if you just when we are talking about different topics, and I can always relate to relationship coaching, and you can always relate to business coaching, and we're talking about like one topic, and each of us can, like add a different view and different ideas. So yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing that a lot of people don't realize, that they're not alone at the end of the day. They're not alone. They're living with some people, and there are some people online, and there are some groups online. They can always ask questions, and maybe something good will come out of that. So that's also
absolutely
a great way how to solve problems sometimes. Like Terry from our group, she said that yesterday she posted a question on Facebook because she was like stuck in Mexico in between fires. We had wildfires, so there were two wildfires from each side, and she was stuck in the middle, and she wasn't sure if she wants to get out of that or not. So she posted on Facebook, like, is there somebody who can give me a ride? And some people from Colorado just were, flying to Mexico, and they gave her a ride, and they gave her one room in their mansion or whatever it is. So she's safe and she's good and everything's working out for her. She just asked someone else, like for help. So that helps as well. Okay, we're
and you know, look at her as an example.
yeah.
She has a problem. She was in Greece, went to Mexico. Now she can't get back to Canada, and you know, she's figuring it out. I mean, I don't think she's too depressed. She's just down there climbing rocks, and but that's a great example.
She's not. She was just showing this huge rock behind her. I think she's absolutely happy. But you know, like yesterday or before yesterday, when she was really like in the middle of the fires and there were the helicopters coming and the refugees and everybody, I think it hit her a little bit that, you know, this might not be, you know, like the perfect place to stay at. And the wind, I think, was stronger, so she had to move out of there. But I mean, she believes, and that's the thing, you know, I've got it like the first note I've got here. No, it's the second one. I'm not going to lie to you. Oh, the first one was to acknowledge the problem, but the second one was believe in the solution. Believe there is a solution. You know, believe that there is a solution, and that's very powerful. You have to believe in that. And then, you know, like she's saying, like everything. She was in the middle of the fires and she was doing this short report, and she was saying like, you know, I believe everything will be okay. Everything will work out. It did, you know, because she believed in that. Okay, let's finish this session. It was great, Jeff, to have you here again. I hope that you will come next time, or not next time, but another time again.
Thank you, Jana.
Thank you for your insight from the business. And whoever is going to have any questions, please post them below this video. We will come back to them. I'm not sure what next week's topic is, but I'm going to post it on Monday, so you will know. Thank you, everybody. Have a great weekend, sunny weekend, spring weekend, and nearly Easter weekend. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.